What's going on, everyone? So, as we start to approach the first round conclusion of the NBA playoffs, right? Got a couple teams still kind of rounding out, trying to close out. But in the next week or so, we're really going to shift into the second round. The Denver and Timberwolves series is like, I think tomorrow or something like that. I know it's not like in a day or two, but nonetheless, right? How this playoffs shape could really impact the Lakers this upcoming offseason, right? So, the Lakers are going to be big players in the offseason. Obviously, they're going to go after stars, Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell, right? Those are kind of like the marquee guys. We'll see if somebody else potentially becomes available that maybe the Lakers can throw their hat in the ring. Even just other role guys. Even if the Lakers miss out on stars, right? I don't think the Lakers are necessarily going to stand pat, sign two vet minimum guys and just call it a day. I think more likely than not, they're going to go and try to make a push, try to obviously hire a new head coach based on the word that is coming out, but get the coach, get that secured, figure out the draft situation. Obviously, they want to try to get some type of trade done at some point, probably around the draft, maybe draft for somebody else. Nonetheless, in the offseason, they will transition and kind of figure out how things are going to play out. But depending on how this playoff shape up, right, could really depend on certain options that the Lakers may have in the offseason. So, for example, if, say, the Orlando Magic end up tying the series and then winning in Game 7, that could impact even more Donovan Mitchell potentially going, yeah, I need to get out of here, right? We lost the second round, lost the first round. Like, I can't keep doing this, right? I might as well go to Lakers and actually contend for a championship, right? And it could, again, kind of influence Donovan Mitchell even further. Even the Orlando Magic, if they lose in the first round, let's say that they don't force a Game 7, say Donovan Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers eliminate the Orlando Magic, right? Well, Orlando's interested in guys like D'Angelo Russell, right? They've been hugely linked. I mean, even to the trade deadline in D'Lo. Right, so do they maybe push heavy and go, man, we could really use D'Lo, we could use his scoring, his playmaking, and now the Lakers are in a position to maybe potentially work out where D'Lo opts in, and then they go make a trade for a player. I'd love to get Suggs. I don't know if that's really a possibility, but just something to throw out there. Throw it into the universe, right? But point is, like, you have Orlando, you have Cleveland that could have potential impacts, right? Philly just got eliminated, right? Now, I don't think Lakers get Joel Embiid or anything like that, right? Even if he were to become available, a team like the Knicks or somebody, they just have way more assets than us. But there are some other guys, like Buddy Hield is a free agent. Can you maybe kind of entice him to come? Kelly Oubre, right? Like, he would be a nice, serviceable two-way wing that can maybe help us, right? So you can kind of, like, talking about these teams that are underachieving that now go, we need to kind of change things up. We need to kind of shake things up here. Tobias Harris was terrible for Philly, right? But at $40 million or whatever he's making, he's awful. But at like $5 million, that's a steal, right? Like, depending on what his market is. I don't know if he'd go for that low, but you get my point, right? Like, how these teams perform is going to persuade organizations to make moves and also persuade players to maybe pivot and go elsewhere, right? So now the Lakers could get a player or two from various teams. The Dallas and Clipper matchup, right? If Clippers get eliminated, right? Clippers very likely might tear it down, right? That could lead to Ty Lue potentially becoming available, and the Lakers can now get a head coach, right? Paul George, right? Paul George has always wanted to be a Laker. Does he come and say, hey, whether you want him on the Lakers or not, right? Like, if he wants to come, do the Lakers kind of go, hey, man, like, we get Paul George, he'd be a third guy, PG, LeBron, and Anthony Davis, things like that. Like, there's these constant domino effects. If Dallas, say, there was already murmurs of Dallas, people inside Dallas not really liking the pairing of Kyrie and Luka. Kyrie's been spectacular in these playoffs, but if, say, the Clippers come back, win the series, does that further go, we need to break that up and kind of pivot a different direction, right? Like, we missed the playoffs, and then, granted, which wasn't really their fault, but you missed the playoffs, and now you finally get in the playoffs, and you had the lead, you had a chance to close out the series, and we ended up losing, so, right? all of these little dominoes could potentially impact the Lakers in one way or another, from a coaching standpoint to role player standpoint to even even just like a star standpoint, right? Because if some of these stars, again, they start underachieving, right? It's like, I need to get out of here, right? This isn't really working for me, right? And even a team like the Pelicans, right? Well, Valanciunas would be a great acquisition, right? The Pelicans are probably going to be looking to do other stuff and even potential trades, right? Like the Pelicans are a team that's interested in maybe picking up a point guard. Do now they go and look like, say they can't get a DeJounte Murray, or they can't get, some other point guard on the market. Do they go and say, hey, like we could really use D'Lo and his playmaking abilities? Yeah, maybe he has some issues in as far as like scoring the basketball at times in big moments, but like now we have Zion, we have Ingram, right? If we could keep CJ, and I'm not saying the Lakers necessarily need anybody there, but it could link to maybe a third team because if, let's say, Atlanta's like, hey, we don't really want D'Lo, right? Well, now you have these other options for other teams that are like, hey, we could use this piece, or we could use that piece, or we need to add some components, right? So just because the Lakers are no longer in the playoffs doesn't necessarily mean that we shouldn't be keeping an eye on some of these things. Like there's a lot that I'm still kind of, watching all these games, kind of gauging, right? Like, okay, these guys, right? Like, oh man, if Cleveland does this, because these are the type of things, not just the Lakers though, right? In general, this is just a Laker channel, so I want to keep it Laker focused. But some of these other teams may look to push in other directions, which could also lead into competition for the Lakers, right? Like, say the Lakers are kind of like, we don't really want Trey, but they want Donovan Mitchell. But a team like the Pelicans are like, hey, we really need a point guard, right? We just got eliminated. Like, man, we need somebody. We need that athletic point guard that can make plays and, help kind of pick up pace, whatever, right? Well, that could, again, directly impact how the Lakers perceive things, right? Team like Chicago, they don't make play, right? Do they really re-sign DeMar DeRozan? If not, maybe we could work something out. Right? Maybe we could go and work out a sign and trade and get an Alex Caruso back and a DeMar DeRozan. Right? Like, so to me, like these playoffs in particular, because the Lakers have the assets this upcoming offseason, right? They have 3 firsts. They have multiple players on good salaries in which they could, package together or individually trade for other pieces, kind of swap guys and go, man, well, you could use a power forward, so you take Rui, and we actually could use, an athletic small forward, so we'll take, this guy, whatever, right? Like there's all of these little nuances that could, potentially be in the Lakers' favor, but also add to competition. But with the Lakers having the assets to actually get into some of these conversations and persuade some of these players, right? And if they kind of structure this team, and even players that underperformed, right? Like a Tobias Harris, right? Again, just using him as an example. But let's say he's like, man, I'm getting into my later years. No one's really offering me a ton of money. Let's say he gets an offer for, I don't know, let's call it, let's say the mid-level exception. Say it's like 11, 13 million, right? And he's like, I could go to this team, play with them, or I could go to the Lakers. And yeah, I'd take a discount, but one, I may be able to raise my value, which we've seen plenty of players do. And on top of raising my value, maybe contend for an NBA championship, assuming, like, let's say they end up trading, Rui or whatever, and it's like, okay, well, now we need a power forward. We need somebody that can slot at the 3, slot at the 4, maybe even play a backup role, right, as he transitions and things. Again, just a guy that came to mind as an example. So not necessarily saying him in particular, but various guys in these playoffs that are kind of, the Milwaukee Bucks, right? Great example. Milwaukee just got eliminated, right? Now, again, not so much looking at like Dame or Giannis, even if Giannis becomes available, again, Lakers don't really have the assets to go after him. Unless he's like, no, I want to go to Lakers and that's it. But even then, him and LeBron, I just kind of question that. But if you could get him, obviously you would. But my point is, I'm digressing a little bit, is like, it's not so much about the stars on the Bucks, right? The Dame, the Giannis. It's more so the other guys, right? Could we get a Pat Connaughton? Could we get, a Bobby Portis, right? Where they're like, hey, we need to kind of retool, reshape some stuff, right? It's like, man, like, well, we don't have a ton to trade, right? But hey, maybe a Rui Hachimura would make sense, right? Maybe we could go get him, right? So maybe we can swap like a Bobby Portis and a Connington for a Rui Hachimura and something else, right? Or maybe those are pieces for a third team, right? Like again, let's say Orlando's like, hey, we want D'Lo, you want Suggs, we need something else, right? Oh, well, we'll take Rui, and now you got these interchangeable parts and pieces. So again, it's just something to kind of keep an eye on, because I do think a lot of these teams that end up get eliminated, it's going to affect the Lakers one way or another. Again, whether it's in a positive manner to where maybe they could get some pieces, or a negative manner where they may end up having some competition because some of these other teams kind of throw their hat in the ring to try to go get maybe some of the pieces that the Lakers are acquiring. Because again, if a team, if all these teams go to the conference finals or they go to the NBA finals, they might look at it as like, hey, we're right there, or we're close. But the teams that undersell, right, all of a sudden that changes things. It's like, oh man, we thought we were a legit contender. We thought we were a team that was good enough to at least get to the conference finals, and now we lost in the first round, right? Just like the Lakers, right? What are the Lakers doing right now? They're basically like, hey, we need to retool here. Right? We thought we were good enough to beat Denver. We thought we were a legit championship level team. Guess what? We aren't. So let's swap out the coach. Let's go get some new players. Let's go trade for a star. Let's go do it. Right? The mentality that the Lakers have right now, other teams are going to have same mentality, and thus will impact how the Lakers provide or proceed into the offseason. But anyway, it's just kind of a thought, something that I've been kind of keeping an eye on, that I wanted to talk to you all about. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? Do you agree that, yeah, definitely, depending on how some of these teams shape up, depends on, various dominoes for the Lakers. Do you think, it won't matter either way? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, love to hear it. Let me know. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. When you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.